We are still reeling from yesterday's jaw dropper in the NBA. Damian Lillard is a Milwaukee Buck, the three-team blockbuster, also sending Jrue Holiday from Milwaukee to Portland, where there are rumors he will not stay. And if you believe Vegas odds makers, Holiday's next team will be the Sixers at plus 250. Celtics, though, right behind them at plus 300, followed by the Heat and the Clippers. Listen, the Celtics should go after Jrue Holiday. I think they will go after Jrue Holiday, but just because you want something doesn't mean you'll get it, and that's okay too. Hello and welcome to Arbella Early Edition. I am Trenni Casey. I won't be disappointed if the Celtics can't land Holiday as long as they legitimately tried. The Celtics have the draft capital. If the Blazers want a future first-round pick, Malcolm Brogdon and Chris, cover your ears. Robert Williams, are you just trying to get in? I know you're mad about it. Chris, I love the Time Lord as much as you do, but he's an oft-injured big man. You have two of those guys already on the roster. You can't keep kicking the can down the road. The Celtics have committed to Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum's going to get his money. You've decided to move on from Marcus Smart, so why not bring in a defensive player who is less emotionally and offensively volatile? Windows are never open as long as you think they are. So if the Celtics don't make moves that enhance the roster, it's only a matter of time before one or both of the Jays start making Giannis, Embiid, Durant type demands. Get ahead of the game, make the moves that make the team better. You saw Chris Forsberg's face pop in there. He is
How dare you start the day like this?
So is Amina Smith. What is the latest on Holiday possibly coming to the Celtics?
So look, the Celtics clearly like the player. They made a pitch for him back when he was a free agent before he ended up in Milwaukee. He has the same agent as Jaylen Brown and Al Horford. There's some obvious connections there. And look, his record speaks for itself. It's an all-star player who was an defensive guy in recent seasons. So you can understand the fascination. The thing that I think should motivate them the most, man, would he love going up against Damian Lillard in a playoff series and being like, that's the guy they traded me for, and I think he would be supremely motivated. We know what he did with Team USA. He has that relationship with the Jays from that experience. So my long-winded way of saying, I can see why they would be interested. It just comes down to, do they have enough? And first off, we're not even going to go down the alleyway that you opened up by suggesting that Robert Williams would be in that deal. But you did mention yesterday, Al Horford, and I do think these are hard decisions you have to think about. John Hollinger on The Athletic did come up with one scenario where if you sign and trade Blake Griffin as part of a 6-player deal, you could potentially get there without trading Robert Al. That especially intrigues me, but there's a lot of little hurdles in there, and ultimately it comes down to, what do the Blazers want? Are they willing to take on Brogdon's money? Are they willing to take the Celtics picks, which should be 28, 29, 30th along the way? And so there's a lot of obstacles. But just like you said, Trenni, these are the conversations you have to have, because windows in the NBA are never open as long as you think.
Yeah, I think you have to go after Jrue Holiday because of what he brings to the table. You talk about him being a defensive player, also was an integral part of the Bucks winning that 2021 title. Again, I think that for me, it's more so, how do you make that happen? Especially after you extend Kristaps Porzingis for $60 million. I start thinking about the second apron. What pieces do you move? What capital do you have? So that's my biggest question, Trenni.
It's always about money, but it's not our money, right, Giles? Go ahead and spend
Right.
it. Chris Mannix joined Felger and Holly on BST last night, and he said the asking price for Holiday will be, quote, steep.
My early read of the landscape is that it's probably going to cost 2 first-round picks to get Jrue Holiday. It's going to at least cost 1 first-rounder and potentially a blue-chip type prospect that fits into the rebuild in Portland. So I think the Celtics should go after him. I think they should be really aggressive, but I also think they should be prepared for a very steep asking price.
All right, we want you to join in this conversation with us. Vote in our poll. Go to NBCSportsBoston.com/early edition. You can also scan the QR code right there. Should the Celtics, Tommy Giles, pay the price for Jrue Holiday? Should they do whatever it takes? Depends on the price, which is the leader in the clubhouse right now, or no. Cease, don't even need them. Don't even bother with it.
Yeah, I would say it depends on the price, but I'm not worried about draft picks. You can give away all the draft picks, because Brad Stevens at this point is almost turning into, like the NBA version of Bill Belichick, just trading down and collecting second-round picks. So giving away those first-rounders, as you guys are pointing out, where are those picks going to be? They're going to be at the end of the draft, because if you get Jrue Holiday, you're going to be a title contender.
Is there someone you would not, and keeping Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum out of it, because they're not trading those two guys away. So,
and you can't trade Jaylen for a year. So.
Yeah, because of the Supermax that he signed. So taking those two out, is there somebody else on the roster that you'd say, absolutely not, I'm not moving that guy?
I don't know if there is.
So,
I understand. I understand the Robert Williams the hesitation there because they're already thin in the front court. And Al Horford, if you thought he played sparingly last year, what do you think he's going to do this year? On top of that, you would have to assume that Kristaps Porzingis is not going to play 82 games. No one's going to play 82 games. They're just that's a position where they are a little bit thin. However, Chris, Robert Williams has had some difficulty staying on the floor. So if that's what stands in the way, you have to think long and hard about that.
Amina, what do you think happens? Malcolm Brogdon's name is coming up again, and he was upset that his name was involved in trade talks in the offseason.
It can't get any more bad.
It can't get any more bad. My thing is that if your name isn't Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, it's free game. If you're not those two players, you would be able to be moved away from this roster. So yes, Malcolm Brogdon might feel some type of way, but I think that him and Brad Stevens, they've had those conversations about the botch situation with him possibly going to the Clippers, the elbow injury, everything like that. At the end of the day, if you're not Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, you got to know that you could be traded or in trade rumors.
I'm going to get the players wrong here, but Trenni, let me just ask you. If you had to do Brogdon, Hauser, Pritchard, Jordan Walsh, sign and trade Blake Griffin, and there's one guy I'm forgetting, but it's like another roster player. Would you put all that together to go get Jrue Holiday?
Yeah.
Yes.
The one you just listed,
I'm not even thinking twice.
I mean, honestly, in that scenario, I don't even think you mentioned Robert Williams.
He didn't.
Or
No Robin, no
Derek
Al.
White. Nobody. Listen, to me, especially when you name guys like Hauser and Pritchard, these are guys that we're still waiting on and looking at and go, hopefully they can do this. Hopefully this is the year they can do it. You know what Jrue Holiday can do. Go after what you know.
And he's a needle mover too. Go ahead, Giles.
Oh, I was just going to say, here's the strange thing about this to me is that the Celtics roster isn't any different than it was 2 days ago when they were the favorites to win the Eastern Conference. The only thing that happened was Milwaukee got better, and that's going to be a tougher task to get past them. But it's just all of a sudden, you look around, it's like, well, the roster's not good enough, and then everyone's put on the trade block. It's a lot can happen in 24 hours.
Also, just don't stay in the East. Whatever happens to him, tell him to go away. By the way, 65% of you agree with us that it all depends on the cost. All right, the Celtics kick off the season on Monday with their annual Media Day, and NBC Sports Boston will have you covered all day long. We start at 10:30 a.m. Head to NBCSportsBoston.com or the all-new NBC Sports Boston app to catch a live stream of exclusive interviews with the players. Mark D'Amico and Amanda Pflugrad from Celtics.com will be joined by NBC Sports Boston analyst Eddie House. Then at 8 o'clock on NBC Sports Boston, Eddie will be back with Amina Smith, Brian Scalabrine, Chris Forsberg to review the best interviews of the day and preview the upcoming season in Celtics Post-Up Media Day edition. All of that is presented by Eastern Propane and Oil. They're in your neighborhood.